Some mothers die slowly, not from sickness, but from the silence of a child they raised with love. She carried him for 9 months, gave him her youth, her strength, her dreams, only to grow old in a house where her name is now a nuisance. This is not just a story. It's a mirror of a forgotten woman and the son she gave everything to. The food he gave his dog was fresher than what he gave his own mother. She sat on the cold kitchen floor, staring at the dry piece of bread in her hand, hard, stale, and smelling of dust. It had been 3 days since her son gave her anything decent to eat. 3 days, yet just this morning, she watched him give a stranger 2 full bags of groceries with a warm smile. "Thank you, sir," the stranger said with both hands raised. Michael laughed. "Eat well, brother. No one should go hungry." But his mother, his own mother, was starving inside. Grace wiped her tears with the hem of her wrapper and whispered, "So I deserve to starve after carrying you for 9 months?" Her stomach growled again. But Michael had locked the fridge again. That same morning, Grace had tiptoed to her son's door. She didn't want to disturb him, only to beg him, like she'd done for the past few weeks. She was hungry again. She knocked. "Michael," she called softly. "My son." The door opened slowly, but he didn't even look at her face. "What is it, Mama?" he said with annoyance in his voice. I haven't eaten since yesterday. Can I get?" He cut her off with a scoff. "Mama, didn't I tell you I'm busy? Go to the kitchen and find something there." He slammed the door before she could say another word. The kitchen? There was nothing in there. Just 1 loaf of dry, leftover bread on the floor, forgotten, dusty, bitten. She stared at it for minutes, then picked it up gently like it was gold. And with tears in her eyes, she murmured, "God, please bless it." She bit into it and cried as she chewed. How did they get here? She remembered it all. Every memory felt like a cut. How she worked 2 jobs after his father died in a car crash, just 2 months after Michael was born. How she carried him on her back to the market. How she went to bed hungry just to make sure he had enough to eat. How she knelt and begged people to lend her money to send him to school. How she washed toilets, carried cement, sold kerosene under the rain, just to make him a man. And now, that man had turned her into a beggar in her own son's house. Michael had guests again that evening. Laughter filled the air. Loud music. Expensive wine. Perfume from ladies who called him daddy. Grace walked slowly to the front veranda, holding her wrapper up so it wouldn't drag in the mud. She stood near the edge of the house, silent, hoping to catch his attention. Just to wave. Just to feel seen. But he didn't notice her. He didn't even glance at her. Instead, he shouted, "Blessing. Where's that grilled chicken? Bring it for the dog, a beg. And put extra." "Yes, sir," the maid replied, rushing. Grace's legs nearly gave out. The smell of the chicken hit her like a slap. She hadn't tasted meat in 2 weeks. Her eyes followed the plate as it was placed before the dog. The dog barked excitedly, wagging its tail. And then, the maid looked up and saw Grace watching. They locked eyes for a moment. The maid's smile faded. Her face softened. "Mama, should I bring small?" "Don't you dare." Michael barked from behind. She already ate. Grace looked away. She didn't want pity. Not from a maid. Not from anyone. She dragged herself back inside. Into the dark. Into the corner. Into silence. As the door closed behind her, she whispered, "God, did I raise him to hate me? Is this the son I prayed for? Fasted for? Suffered for?" She placed her head on her knees, and for the first time in years, she wished she never gave birth. That night, the sound of laughter echoed from the living room. Michael and his friends were still drinking, still joking, still feeding everyone except the woman who once fed him from her own mouth. In the servants' quarters, Grace lay on a thin mat. No fan, no blanket, no peace. But tonight, her heart wasn't just hungry. It was broken. She reached under her pillow and pulled out a torn envelope. Her hands shook as she unfolded the letter inside. One she had written a week ago. A goodbye letter. "If I die here, nobody will notice," she wrote. "If I collapse one day from hunger, the dog will be fed before me. My son has forgotten me. I am now a stranger in his house. But I hope God remembers me, even if my child doesn't." Tears dropped on the paper, smearing the ink. She folded it back. Then she stared at the ceiling, whispering, "God, don't let me curse him. Please. Hold my tongue." By morning, Michael's guests were gone. Bottles littered the ground. Music still playing faintly. And Grace was gone too. Michael woke up late, groggy from alcohol. He didn't notice her absence until the maid knocked on his door, frightened. "Sir, Mama Grace is not in her room." "So?" Michael frowned. "Maybe she went outside." "No, sir. Her wrapper is still here. Her slippers too. She's never gone this long without saying something." Michael stood irritated. "She's an old woman. Maybe she went to the backyard." They searched. No sign of her. Not in the house. Not by the gate. Not at the neighbors. Then the driver came in with a piece of folded paper. "Sir, the gateman found this by the trash bin." Michael opened it and froze. It was her letter. For the first time in years, something stung in his chest. He rushed back to her room and looked around. Really looked. There was no mattress. No bedsheet. Just a mat. A torn Bible. One pair of old slippers. One wrapper. No clothes. No photos. Nothing. He realized he didn't even know when last he asked her how she was feeling. Or if she'd seen a doctor. Or if she had friends. He didn't even know if she cried at night. He never cared to ask. But now he was afraid. Deeply afraid. He picked up his phone and dialed her number. Switched off. Again. Switched off. Again. Switched off. Panic set in. "Mama. Mama, where are you?" he whispered, pacing the living room. "This is not the time for games. Come back, please." But no one answered. That night, the house was silent. No guests. No music. Just guilt. And an empty kitchen. Michael sat on the floor beside her room. He hadn't eaten all day. Not because there wasn't food, but because the woman who used to beg him for scraps had now vanished without a trace. Then at 1:47 a.m., his phone rang. Unknown number. He jumped. "Hello? Mama?" A woman's voice replied coldly. "She told us not to call you. But you're her son. So you should know." Michael's heart skipped. "Know what?" The woman replied. "She collapsed. On the roadside. She's in the hospital. But you'll have to come quick if you want to see her alive." Michael didn't wait to wear shoes. He grabbed his car keys with shaking hands and flew down the stairs, barefoot, breathless. His heart was pounding so loud it echoed in his ears. As he drove to the hospital, all he could hear was her voice. "Michael, I'm hungry. Michael, please don't forget me. Michael, I'm still your mother." He sped through red lights. He nearly hit a man at a zebra crossing. But he didn't care. He just kept praying. "God, let her live, let her live. I'll do better, I swear. Please just don't take her yet." When he got to the hospital, the lights looked too bright, too clean, too cold. The nurse at the reception looked up at him with tired eyes. "Name of patient?" she asked. "Grace. Grace Owolabi. Brought in tonight." She checked, then frowned slightly. "Emergency room. Straight down, left turn." Michael ran. He got there, stopped at the door, peeped through the glass, and froze. His mother was lying on the bed. Her eyes were closed, her lips pale, a drip in her arm, oxygen mask on her face. And beside her, a small old woman in a purple scarf was wiping her face gently with a cloth. She looked up and saw Michael. "Are you the son?" she asked with quiet judgment in her eyes. Michael nodded slowly, mouth dry. "She called your name just before she passed out," the woman said coldly. "She wanted to die with your name on her lips." He took a shaky step into the room. Then another. He sat beside the bed and reached for her hand. It was cold. So cold. He began to cry. "Mama. Mama, I'm so sorry," he whispered. "Please don't leave me. Don't go yet. I was stupid. Wicked. Blind. But I see it now. I see everything now." No answer. Just the soft beep of the heart monitor. "She was found near a gutter," the nurse said, entering quietly. "Unconscious. Starving. Weak." Michael looked up slowly. "Is she going to die?" he asked, voice breaking. The nurse didn't answer. Instead, she handed him something. A photo. Old. Faded. A picture of Grace, holding a baby Michael, smiling in front of a small kiosk. The back read, "Even if I have nothing, I still have you. And that's enough." Michael fell to his knees and sobbed. But just then, the monitor beeped faster. Grace's hand twitched. Then her lips moved. "Michael?" He jumped up. "Yes, Mama. I'm here. Please, I'm here." But her eyes didn't open. Instead, her lips trembled. She whispered something barely audible. Michael leaned close and heard it. "Forgive you." Then the monitor flatlined. The nurse shouted, "Doctor, we're losing her." Michael screamed, "Mama!" The doctor rushed in. People pushing, voices shouting. Michael stood frozen in the chaos. And then, as the nurses tried to bring her back, another nurse walked in, holding a paper in her hand. She said, "Sir, we found this letter in her wrapper. It's addressed to you. She wrote it this morning." Michael's hands shook as he opened it. And what was written inside will destroy everything he ever believed about himself. The letter trembled in his hands. His eyes blurred with tears as he opened it slowly, fearing every word would stab him deeper than the last. It read, "My son, Michael, I may not have gold, but I have a heart that beats for you. I may not live in your mansion, but I once lived in a single room and still made you feel like a prince. If I die today, I want you to know I forgave you the moment you began to hate me. I only begged for food, not love. But I guess even hunger became a crime in your eyes. I wish you'd look at me the way you look at your guests. I wish you'd give me a plate, even if it had crumbs. I wish you'd see me, not as a beggar, but as the woman who once carried you 9 months and never gave up. If God still gives me breath by the time you read this, then maybe he still has mercy on both of us. Mama Grace." Michael dropped the letter, fell to his knees again, and sobbed like a child. The doctor's voice cut through his tears. "She's back." Michael shot up. "What?" "She's breathing again. Faint but steady. She's not out of danger, but your mother is a fighter." Michael rushed into the room. Grace was weak, her eyes half open. But she was alive. He dropped beside her, grabbed her hand, and kissed it with tears pouring from his face. "Mama. Mama, please don't go. I was blind. Foolish. Cold. Please don't die with this pain. Please forgive me." Her lips moved. Slow. Soft. But firm. "Michael, if I had died, would you cry like this?" He nodded, weeping. "I would have cried every day for the rest of my life." She smiled faintly. "Then thank God he gave you one more chance." Michael placed his head on her chest like a baby. And then Grace, fragile but strong, lifted her hand and touched his head. "My son," she whispered, "life is short. Pride is loud. But silence is where God speaks. You forgot me, but God didn't forget me." Michael cried louder. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." "No child is perfect," she replied. "But what makes you a man is when you look back and make things right." Then she looked into his eyes and said words that shook his soul. "Never treat strangers better than your blood. Because when the world turns its back, family is all you'll have left." That day, Michael changed. He moved his mother into the master bedroom. He sold his Rolex to pay her hospital bills. He canceled his parties. And every morning, before anything else, he made sure the first plate of food in his house was for Mama Grace. The end.